Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is bonkers. This is a case of a child in a Scottish school who identifies as a wolf because they say they're a furry and they're a furry wolf. And the education people put up with this nonsense. Now, this story popped up my timeline on X last night, or this morning, I should say, and I thought, that can't be right. Is it the 1st of April? But it turns out it is right, and it's been covered in more than one outlet. The outlet I'll use for reference is the Daily Express, because this story is just mental. So their headline: Scots school pupil identifies as a wolf in first case of species dysphoria. Council bosses say the student is a furry and have offered support, but a leading expert reckons they should snap out of it. A snappy wolf you're looking for then. This is mental. So now we have trans people who have dysphoria, which means that they believe they're in the wrong body. We now have species dysphoria, which I don't think is a thing, and you'll do a lot of people where people believe they're in the wrong species. Now, this is just, we're getting to the point where I could identify as a Martian, and you'd be a bad person for telling me I'm not a Martian. However, the story goes, a Scottish school pupil has been allowed to identify as a wolf by education bosses in what is thought to be the first case of species dysphoria in the country. Teachers are said to be supporting the choice of the secondary student. Now, for those in England, secondary school, you start when you're about 12 and you're there for at least 4 years, between 4 and 6 years. So this person's between, 12 and 18, okay? So they're probably a teenager. But the news has been met with shock, with one expert saying the pupil involved needs to snap out of it. The Daily Mail reports that official documents confirm the move, with the council backing the child's choice. It comes amid claims a growing number of youngsters are taking on the persona of animals. It's been reported that children are trying to identify as the likes of foxes, dragons, birds, snakes, sharks, and even dinosaurs. Species dysphoria is defined as a disorder that occurs when someone feels that their body is part of the wrong species. However, Dunbartonshire-based clinical neuropsychologist Dr. Tommy Mackay said there is no such condition. Thank you, Dr. Tommy Mackay, for bringing a bit of sense to order. Another thing is, if it's species dysphoria, the wrong species, how can people identify as dragons? Because unless I'm wrong, dragons are a figment of the imagination, much like unicorns. They don't exist. So how can you be species disorder? That's reality dysphoria. That's no species dysphoria, even if that thing was an actual thing. The story goes, he said, it's not surprising we are seeing this in an age when many people want to identify as something other than who they are. I think he's talking about trans people here. Now we have a council which appears to accept at face value that a child identifies as a wolf rather than being told to snap out of it, which would be the common sense approach. It comes after a school in Aberdeenshire had to deny claims a group of pupils had started identifying as cats, and amid a backdrop of fierce debate on gender identity, the council involved, which has not been disclosed, describes the child as being part of a group known as furries, who create persona, sometimes called fursona, based on an animal. Is that these people that are sort of almost like comic-like? They don't walk, it's not a real fox or wolf, it's like a cartoon-derived version of it. In a statement, which again means it's no species dysphoria at all, it's reality dysphoria. In a statement, the local authority said personal support is available through the wellbeing worker, including counselling. There is very little specific guidance on species dysphoria. You're no kidding. The statement said bosses following the Get It Right for Every Child Scottish Government's guidance and Wellbeing Wheel to support pupils regardless of barriers to learning or challenges they face. This tool emphasises the need to let children have their voice heard. This will be one of these funky, fandangled ways of dealing with people, these, what do you call it, Wellbeing Wheel. I've got to take all this into consideration. No, here's how you deal with it. You're not a furry, okay? That's how you deal with it. Or where does this end? Where will this lunacy end? But then this kid lives in Scotland, where we've had a government for 17 years, intent in dealing with lunatic, idiotic policies like this. What do we do with somebody that turns up at school and says, I'm a wolf, right? We actually have a process to deal with that. No, you don't need that process to deal with that. Here's how you deal with it. You're not a wolf. Get back to class, okay? Where are we? The concept of species dysphoria has been around for centuries. It was mocked in the satirical cartoon South Park when a character underwent plastic surgery to look like a dolphin. That was probably them using satire to deal with a thing called gender dysphoria in a comical, satirical way. Oh my God. Anyway, furries are said to hold meetups organised in TikTok. They call themselves Therians, a human who identifies as an animal. And pupils have even been given tips on coming out to their parents. Well, that how does that work? Mum, Dad, can I have a word? I've got something really important to tell you. What's that, darling? I'm a furry badger, right? I want to be known as Woof Woof, right? How does this work? We're actually, you can get guidance on how to tell your parents you're a kiddie on animal. Mum, Dad, I've got some bad news for you. What's that, son? I'm a dragon. Oh dear God, that's all right. We thought you were going to tell us you're a Celtic fan, right? What guidance do you need? What about telling folk to stop being idiots, right? Why do we not let kids have a proper grasp on reality? Do you know what I mean? Many wear masks to express themselves. Polytherians identify as multiple species, while Paleotherians say they have the persona of an extinct creature such as a dinosaur. Scottish Tory MSP Megan Gallagher said, SNP ministers should ensure teachers feel confident they can take a common sense approach when these situations occur. The Scottish Government did not comment. Where does this, honestly, where does this madness end? Why do we live in a society that actually tries to accommodate people just coming up with absolutely idiotic stuff, right? I mean, excuse me, I don't think you can give me a punishment exercise because I'm going to identify as a Cabbage Patch doll, right? You'd be like, what? What are you talking about, you crackpot? Sit down and do your maths homework, right? But no, we keep pandering to people with made up dysphorias. And this isn't just unique to this nonsense. I do genuinely think there must be a very, very small percentage of people who have actually believed, whether it's physically true or not, that they are in the wrong body, because I've met two in my life. But you see thousands of people who suddenly say, I'm transgender. No, you're not. You're a geezer that likes wearing women's clothes. Some people believe in ADP, I believe is the acronym used, for people who get a sexual kick out of wearing clothes of the opposite gender, right? They're not gender dysphoric. They're people just get weird kicks. Weird, I mean, there's loads of weird sexual kicks people get, loads of sexual fantasies that people live out, right? But I don't need to be part of it. Okay? There's people who get sexual kicks out of having sex with exhaust pipes in cars, and they think somehow they're having a romantic relationship with a motor car, right? Great, fill your boots. Don't expect me to believe you that you're marrying a car, okay? And the same with all this nonsense. Just because you get in your head that you're convinced you're something you're evidently not, doesn't mean society needs to buy into your nonsense, particularly me, because I can like make my own decisions in a lot of things, right? And I'm not buying into that. But now we've got laws, and this is where it will get silly. Now we've got laws where if somebody says evidently they're a man and they say, well, I want to be she, and you even by mistake call her him, that's a crime in Scotland, right? So, you know, now that we've opened up those barriers, where does it stop? If somebody I don't know, I see walking down the street with a tail on, and I go, all right, mate, how's your day, son? And he go, I'm no son, I'm a cat, right? Where does the law end? Now, let's not say don't be stupid, Craig. That'll never happen. Because I'll tell you, 10 years ago, if somebody said to you, you could be, you know, imprisoned by telling somebody on a computer program network type thing that he is a him, when in fact he is a him, but he wants you to call her she, and that somehow is a bit of criminality involved, right? So please don't tell me that, oh, what are you talking about? We'll never come to that. Who knows where it will come to next, right? And it's, you know, we've got people who are in the cabinet. We've got people running country. I remember John Swinney during the election was asked how many genders were there, and it was and that's not a bad impression of what he's doing. That's almost verbatim. Well, I mean that's debatable. No, it's not, John. The answer's two, right? We've got a guy in the cabinet in Westminster who thinks you can grow a cervix and then put it in a man, right? Potty, absolute potty. And these people are running our country. These people are running our parliaments, right? I had women who, during the run-up to the election, I spoke to a lot of people about, you know, voting, what they were intending to do, etc. And particularly not unique to women, but the majority were women who, when you were talking about certain candidates, were like, well, do they know what a woman is? And you're like, I don't have an issue with women asking that question, and the expectation is whoever's they're going to entrust their vote to would know what a woman is. But what blows my mind is we have to ask in the first place. In 2024, it's a consideration that you need to ask somebody, do you know what a woman is? 10 years ago, you know, it was just a given. Woman, adult female. It's no difficult. But that's the society we live in. And, you know, I'm just like, where do we go next? What's the next step in the lunacy? What is it? If somebody decides they want to identify as a furry and I don't pat their head when I pass them in the street, will I get to the jail in 10 years' time? Can we please, love of God, get back to common sense? If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe and the notifications bell. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about furries and all this nonsense. But most important of all, unless you're a furry, unless you actually are convinced you have species dysphoria, unless you're one of these people that actually entertain this nonsense, not you, but
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.